So the reason we're doing this video, Chelsea said she wanted to interview me, which we've talked about interviewing
I've
each
been
other.
wanting to do that for a while, so we're finally getting to it.
So basically, in 2014, there was this period of time where I would watch this particular couple on YouTube, and they would just post different videos about her training and him building their business, and I was just really motivated by their story, and I guess more or less motivated by what I could see rather than what I was hearing them say. I was seeing them do things. So today's going to be like a little bit of a Q&A. It's not going to be too much backstory, I don't think,
Unless I ask.
unless Chelsea asks. But we're just going to be asking me some questions, I guess, and then we'll be hopefully trying to inspire others with just some back and forth.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, babe. Who would you say you are? What accolades you have? Why should we listen to you? Is the first question.
Wow, what a fun question.
Why are you important enough to listen to right now?
Well, my name is Brandon. I'm number 4 out of 5 kids. I'm husband to a beautiful wife named Chelsea. Technically, you and I are world champions in our division of dance, which has required a lot of hard work and sacrifice. So I think if you can take anything from my tale, it's the fact that if you work hard and you show up and you have dreams and you keep showing up and you keep going through stuff, then you can eventually achieve those dreams and then find new dreams.
That actually was going to be one of the next questions. So that's perfect that you said that. What's next in store for you? Like, do you have anything else that you're dreaming about? Because obviously you love dancing. That's like your career. It's what you've built your life on. So what's next, if there is anything next?
For me, since I've been young, I've always been creative. So from the time I could hold a pencil, I was drawing whatever I was seeing or hearing about, so I just feel like creativity is the passion. Creativity is the dream. So whatever that looks like. So creativity right now is dance. Like when I didn't have you and I didn't have dance, I was drawing all the time, or I was writing short stories, or
Because you're a pretty amazing artist when you draw.
you're sweet.
No, you have really good stuff.
It'll tie into one of the other questions later. Someone was asking about like inspirations growing up, but yeah, I like comic book heroes.
You've created your own comic book hero.
Yes. So
Based off of what?
based off of life experience, but actually it's like a few stories that I love that really tie in together. So actually the funny thing is it would be like I'd be pairing my experience with just dance in the workplace in general, along with some hero and comic book themes that I've grown up with.
We need to throw up some of your comic book characters that you've drawn so that people can see what you've worked on, because it's impressive. One of the characters is obviously me. Main character is obviously you. Are you wanting to dive into that, or are you not wanting to get into that just yet? We'll hold that off until a later date.
Let's hold that off. Let's add a little mystique and mystery to that.
Do you have any hobbies outside of dancing? Which we were just talking about it. You have drawing, but I don't think that your drawing really comes in to play unless we're down. If we were just vacationing or something.
Yeah, so here's the thing with creativity. I feel like everyone has a small little vial of creativity juice that you get each day, and it gets refilled every time you go to sleep. And there's only so much in that vial that you can use each day. So that's how it feels. Like when you and I are rehearsing, when we're getting ready for competition, when we're training, I don't have that creative ability to, I'd have to make myself draw. I'd have to make myself research something or draw practice or something. But when we're at your parents and we're doing vacation and we're not dancing for a couple of days, then I have to draw.
Yeah, it has to get out somehow.
Yeah.
You have to get that creativity from somewhere or out somehow.
Yeah, so not only is it finite, but it has to be used too, which is weird. If I don't get it out, I have to find a way to get it out somehow. Anything that's creative, so it could be drawing, it could be learning a musical instrument, it could be media production. You and I'm really trying to move us into that media production role. So it's things like videography and photography, and again, just any medium where we're creating a product that people can visually see is something I feel like I get fulfillment out of. That's where I get the most enjoyment.
Okay. And then one of the other questions was role models growing up and now. So who were your role models growing up and who are they now?
Okay, so the immediate first one, I think my family would say it was Batman. Uh, or, of
Brennan's
course,
like, of course, a real character, Batman
yeah.
himself.
So my family would say Batman. Of course, my older brothers were my role models because they were stronger than me and they were bigger than me, and I wanted to be like them, do everything they did. But then if I think of like teenager years and stuff like that, this is going to sound funny to some people, but like Lord of the Rings, you and I have this very passionate love for Lord of the Rings.
Yes, we are nerds.
So characters, of course, like Aragorn and Gandalf and even Boromir, like those were really cool role models in the story.
Well, yeah, movies were fantastic back in the day, so that makes sense. Like, I think that's what role models should look like. Is what those characters are. That's the epitome of a leader, especially for guys.
A psychologist would be like, oh, it's this kind of archetype or something like that, which is essentially what comic book heroes are. And one of my favorites was, of course, Spider-Man. Like, that is my favorite superhero. I know there's Superman and the Flash and all of that, but for me it was definitely Peter Parker, and that saying, you know, with great power comes great responsibility, and you could see him being selfish, and then the moment when it all changed for him is when Uncle Ben, of course, gets shot. Spoiler alert. And then
Just in case you haven't heard of Spider-Man.
And then his whole journey of basically being a hero is the story of self-sacrifice for the good of others.
So those are your role models. That's what you would say that, like, real life would be like your brothers. And then growing up it was like these movie heroes, these movie characters, and then now what would be your answer for now?
This might seem a little bit cliche for people, but if you've been following Chelsea and I for any length of time, you know that we're Christians. So I take now a lot of inspiration from the biblical characters, because not only are the biblical characters historical characters, but they're past versions of us. And I'm not saying in any kind of reincarnation source, but just looking at like King David, a man after God's own heart, is how he was described, and how woefully inadequate he was at being a righteous person. He did a lot of great things, and he was given strength by God. And as you get older, things like truth and morality, those things start to matter more to you, rather than just be like, here's a good guy, here's a bad guy. And then, of course, the greatest role model is going to be God himself, and that's going to be in the form of Jesus. And when I say that, again, that sounds like something a Christian should say. But, like, for instance, like, you're one of my role models. And I've probably said this in past videos, but I used to be very selfish when it came to my weekends, because we would work so hard throughout the week. We'd work like 50 to 60 hours sometimes for basically slave pay. And it was so hard on the body, and you felt like no time was yours.
And you felt worthless for the most part. Most of the time you felt you weren't appreciated, and you were just driven into the ground.
Yeah.
With zero cares.
So because of that, as a result, my weekends, the little bit of hours I had on Saturday, and then maybe the full day off on Sunday, when I say I lived for the weekends, I lived for the chance to be in a vegetative state and not be doing anything, because we were so exhausted. And what would happen is, if anyone, even someone close to us, would ask for help, they'd be like, hey, can you help us move, or can you help us set up for this party, or come over and have dinner. They could ask for something completely benign and innocent, and it was like they were asking me for a kidney, because I was clutching so tightly onto my time. And the reason I bring any of that up is because, like, you taught me by way of your example and also your father's example. So it helps to here. There's another role model, is Joseph, my father-in-law. He's just the kind of person who works 13, 14-hour days, and then he would come home and he would fix my vehicle in 20-degree weather. And
you can't really complain when he's in the room.
Yeah.
Not because he would make you feel bad. It's just because, like, he does not complain about stuff.
His very essence does not complain.
Yeah.
He doesn't complain. He just continues to work hard. And then you would kind of like, well,
I'd use my dad as a weapon for Brandon. I'd be like, really?
So you'd be gentle at first, and then after that you would use him as an example. But even just talking to me and being like, you need to be willing to help out others. So when I say Chelsea is a role model, I mean that in the sense that she has helped me to adopt a mindset that puts others first before thinking about how tired I am or how this could be my time, I deserve it, this, that, and the third. We all can justify our thoughts thinking that way. But when you think of, again, the most supernatural example that we have is Jesus and the way that he spoke about people, and not just being nice to other people or being a good person. He took it a step further and he pushed it into, here's what a natural man would do and here's what a supernatural man would do. So if you get insulted by someone, the natural response is to respond back to them in kind with something equally as insulting or more. But what he says is, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you. He's like, pray for your enemies. That's supernatural. Think well of them or want blessings for them. That's supernatural, because your natural instinct is to want revenge or want them to get what's coming to them, get their karma.
Have you ever felt that way about a person?
Oh, still to this day, even as a Christian, that's because I fall so short of that example of being supernatural and righteous like he is. It just, I saved you.
From
I sacrificed.
What was that?
It was some sort of cricket on your shoulder.
Oh, okay. The cricket, I can handle the cricket. What I can't handle is, it sounded like he was over here.
It was
But
a
he was here?
tarantula. I saved you.
If it's a spider, I'm sorry. No, we're leaving now, and we're going into the indoors where I said we should do this to start with. Okay, so I think we answered that question.
I have lots of inspirations, motivators, mentors.
What is your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet
That's kind of
peeve?
like a broad question, because that could be for multiple situations.
It depends on the situation. For me, like the first thing that came to my head was armpit odor. And
It's
I'm
very
talking about-
offensive. You
it's-
better not have armpit odor when you're around Brandon.
That is my thing. Now, the reason I say this is because I have such a high sensitivity to it when it's me. Like if I'm pitting or something like that, and I can smell myself, I get angry because I'm like, I just want to get to the shower or the place where the deodorant is, because if I can smell me, other people can smell me.
Was this a core memory for you as a child?
I don't know.
Because he did grow up in Florida, so you were sweating all the time. And then you had to have like your dress shirts on while you taught your lessons.
Yeah. So I don't know if it was a core memory or not. All I know is, so that is why I get upset when I'm around smelly people, because I know that if I can smell me, other people can smell me. So which means if you smell, I know that you smell, and you know other people can smell you, and you don't care. And that offends me.
That's Brandon's biggest pet peeve. That was actually easier for you to answer than I thought it would be.
It was the first thing that popped into my head.
Smelliness.
Smelly armpits.
Brandon doesn't tolerate it at all. Do you want to get into like, because I was gonna ask you kind of like hard-hitting questions with the ballroom dance industry. Like that's what we're in. Are you brave enough to go into the territory of what irritates you about it, or the reality of the ballroom dance industry and what your thoughts are about that, since it's been what you started your career in since you were 16?
Mm-hmm. Easily. Yeah, we can do that. So what, something I think that is bad in the ballroom dance
Something
industry?
that, no, not that it, because there's something bad that's in anything,
Mm-hmm.
but what do you feel like isn't discussed that everyone knows, or is there something about the dance industry, like you love it, right?
Yeah.
Is there something about the dance industry that you wish would change, or there's like a truth that people don't typically realize about the dance industry?
Yeah, so like you said, there's something bad in every single industry. So because like we find dancing so beautiful as a way of transplanting people to a different dimension, if you will, a different place, a different time. So that can be a really cool aspect of it, or what it can do for people. So we used this example the other day when we were talking to someone. Chelsea had not one but two students who I think had um, COPD, or it's a lung condition that gets
Gets worse. It
yeah.
doesn't. It does not get better at all.
So, your doctor will tell you that like this condition's never going to get better, and then lo and behold, what I was perceiving is when this gentleman who had this condition first came in, he'd have to do a dance, and then he'd have to sit down and get on his oxygen, and then he would get up, do a dance, sit down, do his oxygen. Well, what I started noticing is as the weeks progressed, he was sitting down less and less. He was doing less and less oxygen. You and Kristen were literally not healing his lungs. You were bringing him back to life.
Improving it,
Yeah.
for sure.
So the reason I talked about anything beneficial is because, again, it's this beautiful craft that can do so many amazing things. It can literally improve people's lives, and it's tangible, it's visible. But on the flip side of that, from the professional side of things, one of the things I absolutely loathe about the industry is how some professionals, not all, some professionals will look at their clients as if you are a walking ATM machine, or you are someone who's dumber than me because you don't know what a spiral is. So a lot of students who take ballroom dance lessons have their own lives, they have their own marriages, their own kids, their own businesses.
Typically their own businesses.
So they're smart people, they're clever people. Just because they don't know what heel, toe, 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 heel is, doesn't mean that they are dumber than you. And that's one of my least favorite things in the dance industry, is this almost smugness that comes across from some professionals who know a few bookwormy things about ballroom dancing. It doesn't place you above anyone. It just means that you know something different than they know. And then stop looking at your clients as a walking ATM. Quit trying to figure out ways in which you can manipulate them out of their money by invoking some sort of emotional response, and just be better at your profession. Be a better dancer, be a better coach, care about them, make it more about them and less about yourself, and you will form more lasting relationships that are fruitful with friendship and not built upon manipulation. And the reason I bring that up is because there's just far too many individuals in our industry who have so badly taken advantage of other people that it has led to some of the biggest lawsuits in dance history. And I hate that just by us being a part of the industry, sometimes we'll tell people what we do. Oh, we're professional ballroom dance coaches or professional ballroom dance teachers. And you can see like a switch flip inside them where they automatically get defensive, and you're like, oh, this person's been burnt before by someone.
Right. Yeah, they've had some sort of bad interaction. And it's unfortunate. I think that all businesses have that in there somehow, some way. But why do you think it is that it's like so prevalent in the ballroom dance industry?
I think a certain personality type is attracted to the attention that you can get as a ballroom dance professional. So it requires less, I think, background and training than, like, for me, I wouldn't get into ballet for attention if I didn't grow up doing ballet. You know what I mean? That would be kind of like luck of the draw. My parents got me into it, and I've been doing it since I was 5, so now I'm a professional ballerina. But for ballroom dancing, when you discover, oh, okay, I can train in this, and I can get really proficient in it, but I also can perform in front of people. I'll just say this. There are ballroom dancers and other dancers, but specifically ballroom, can be some of the most insecure extroverts you've ever met in your life. So it's confusing because they're extroverted. They like being the life of the party, they like being the center of attention, but they have so many insecurities. And for whatever reason, that personality type, like a moth to the flame, becomes attracted to specifically ballroom dance instruction.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a way to get the attention that you seek. You also get this ability because of your insecurities. You're trying to establish your dominance over others to make yourself feel better. So because of those insecurities, you get to now teach other people who don't know what it is that you know.
Right.
Or you get to lead a group class, or you get to be in charge of a showcase production, or whatever it happens to be. And I think every single person watching this can relate to that in some way, shape, or form. You've either had a manager or someone over top of you, not in the dance industry, but you're wondering to yourself, well, this person isn't proficient or good at what they do.
Right.
but they seem to be in this position of authority. How did they get there?
Right. Yeah. I think that that's what I was trying to say earlier is that those types of people are in every single um, aspect of life. No matter what your profession is, you're gonna find that type of personality everywhere. And I think that the interesting thing is for me, eventually people realize that with like the different teachers and everything. The students start to realize that, but I think that I know I'm asking you the question, but I'm like wondering. I'm thinking that the reason that there are so many of those types of people in the ballroom dance industry is because people typically don't. The ballroom dance industry is so small.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a small world. Everyone knows everyone, and I think that because it's so small and outsiders don't understand it, the people that are on the inside can get away with that type of behavior because they are banking on someone not understanding what they're talking about or what they're doing, or if what they're saying or doing is wrong.
Right. Yeah. It's sort of shrouded in a little bit of mystery, which is why it's harder for people outside of it to critique it because, well, I don't know if this is the way things are done in dance studios, so I probably shouldn't say something, and that ends up covering over a whole host of things that end up not getting corrected over time.
Right. Are you ready for the next question now that we've, dumped a lot of hard-hitting facts?
All right, shoot.
Okay. The next question someone asked, name 3 easier plus 3 harder things in a dance partnership when you are married to your partner.
Okay.
You better be careful because you're like,
You're here.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're my wife.
Although I'd prefer you to just answer honestly. Maybe this will be like a good learning tool for myself.
Yeah, I've learned over time honesty is the best policy because then you don't have to remember a lie later. So, okay, number 1, like 3 easy things. I would say the fact that we're always together. So to me, that's a fun thing. I guess we're weirdos in that sense. Like we love.
A lot of people don't understand that. They really don't understand that.
Well, we're familiar with other couples who he has his job, she has her job, he has his guys' night, she has her girls' night, and for me personally, Chelsea is my best friend. I'm Chelsea's best friend. We actually prefer each other's company. So like when we go somewhere, there's no guys' night, girls' night. There's just Brandon and Chelsea are going to a location, and there just so happens to be other people there. And if somebody invites Chelsea, you better believe she's bringing Brandon, and vice versa. So
that's like that's like your number 1 easy of the 3.
yeah, is the fact that we're always together.
Okay.
And I think it just makes it easier for you and I to understand what's going on in each other's lives because we're witnesses to it, so I don't have to come home and be like, oh, you'll never guess what happened at work
That's
today.
interesting. That's true because a lot of couples do have to go through that. They have to go through these moments where they don't know what each other is going through, so they're bringing individual problems together and having to solve it. That would be very difficult.
Yeah, so I think maybe that's why we don't struggle with communication because
Well,
we're always around each other. So
that communication thing could improve.
Other easy things, though, I think
Yeah, you got 2 more.
we share very similar passions. I do feel like it would be hard to dance the way I dance with you. Like the reason that I can be so connected with you is because I really love you. Like it's like I really gently want to put you on the ground. I want you to think of me
Most of the time.
yeah. I want you to think of me as strong.
Right.
So I want to do things that will like impress her. So that's I don't know if that's an advantage, but it's something
That makes it easier. That
Yeah.
makes it you're not having to fake a relationship when we're doing like you're talking about like with performances and stuff.
Yeah.
You're not having to fake an emotion.
Correct.
So it makes you could because dancers are basically actors and actresses. So we become the character that we're going out there to display. So you could, but what makes it easier is the fact that we are married.
Yeah, I absolutely I could put on a character and go out there and dance a dance like
Right.
you said. They're dancers or actors.
Right.
But I appreciate that I just get to be
Right.
in connection
yourself.
with you.
Right. And then the third what makes it easier as a married
Third easy
partnership?
thing is we can support each other. We can uplift each other. We can, again, because we're a witness to each other's lives, like if something isn't going right or if I'm not feeling necessarily strong or motivated, I feel like because, again, we don't live in separate households, like, we can recognize when one of us is feeling not so up to snuff as far as, like, leading things, so then the other one can jump in and kind of take over the planning or what we're going to be shooting for, or I just feel like it helps with navigating where we're going next,
Right.
being married to each other.
Okay, and then what makes it harder?
I don't know if I necessarily have 3 things that make it harder. I would say the first thing that's hard is because we're in relationship with each other, the flip side of what I was talking before about how, like, I try and do things that impress her. Well, when I do something poorly or bad in dance, and Chelsea said, because Chelsea's very, like, I'm kind of the good enough side of the partnership. She's the everything needs improvement side of the relationship. So, whenever she says, I didn't like that, that looked bad, we need to improve on that. Sometimes, and this is not right or wrong, this is just how I perceive it sometimes, is like, Brandon, that didn't look good. You're a failure. You need to improve upon your dancing. And then it's like, I'm not impressing her anymore. You know what I mean? So you tend to take things more personally, I think, when you're...
Because it's not just a business relationship, it's also a romantic relationship.
Yes. Like, if you were just my dance partner and you were saying we need to improve upon this, I think in some ways it might be easier for me to be like, yeah, that looked objectively trash. Like, we can definitely make that look better. But because it's coming from you, the object of my love, it's like, oh, she's not happy with what I'm doing right now. It's weird. It doesn't make sense.
So that's one thing that makes it a little bit more challenging, that makes it harder.
Mm-hmm.
What would be the second one?
The second one is when things are not, when things are, like when you're going through a rough patch, it affects both of us. Like that whole Bible verse about bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh, they become one, man and woman. That is totally true. Because when you're down, it has an effect on me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm down, it has an effect on you, whether we like it or not.
Right.
It doesn't matter how emotionally strong we think we are.
It's going to have some sort of effect.
Yes, exactly. And if both of you are in the dumps at the same time, that's really rough. That's like a walking through the desert type season.
And we've been through that.
Yeah.
Where there's like been, I get down more so than you do. You're a lot stronger than me when it comes to stuff like that. I'm more emotional and a little bit of a worrier when it comes to some stuff. So I'm down more than you are, but we have been in places where we both have been depressed at the exact same time, which I think that it's not fun. And you like digging yourself out of that hole, it's really difficult. But I will say that when we are both down in the dumps together, I will say that because we're there together for whatever reason, I think that by the grace of God, we've actually been able to like we almost get closer.
Yeah.
Our relationship. Everything else is kind of like falling off, like going off the rails. But the one thing that does get a little bit closer is us, I think, when we're both down like that.
Yeah.
Which I find interesting.
So I would say those are the two
You don't
biggest
have a
ones.
third
I can't
one?
really think of a third one. That's like a drawback of us being married and also dance partners.
Okay.
I would say those are the things that snapped into my brain first.
Okay. So the next question, they are asking, who does the choreography of your routines?
Okay, so the quick answer is we do. That's the fast answer. So the slow answer is initially Victor and Hannah are our coaches, and they've been our coaches since the beginning. There's been a few
like
others
since the beginning, which is going to have to be another video. We need to just go through like our past and take you guys through, or just walk through memory lane together, because incredible story.
So there's been other coaches who have like been influences on us, but those two really are the ones who taught us the fundamentals. And when I say they taught us the fundamentals, it wasn't just they taught us tricks and lifts. They taught us how
they operated. Like we went through like calculated with them.
So the reason that that's important is because what that gave Chelsea and I was the knowledge and the know-how of how to like visually look at other things, whether it be like a pas de deux performance or something from Cirque du Soleil or something on Instagram. we were able to look at it, perceive it, and break it down into its elements, and then we were able to do that lift ourselves because they taught us how to lift, how to do this thing. So then from there, because they were overseas, we only saw them a few times a year. That's if we were lucky enough to see them multiple times a year. So most of the time, it was we were in partnership with them as far as like we'd come up with a theme, we'd bounce it off of them, they'd like plant some ideas in there, and then because they were overseas and we were here, we were the ones who had to come up with most of the choreography. So they initially did, I want to say, our first 3 initial
Yes,
routines.
I think for sure they did like a good thing that wasn't a head.
That was terrifying.
That was that a rock from the sky?
I don't know.
I wonder if you can hear that. That was crazy.
So they gave us our first 3.
They gave us Avatar.
Yeah.
They for sure did Avatar for us.
Mm-hmm.
Blood Diamond.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've helped us with other choreography pieces.
Right.
But I think those 2, they did the choreography because we could not. We were babies.
Right.
We didn't know what the heck we were doing.
Right.
But I think that you're right, is like as we went through life, and because we were only like we would get lucky and maybe see them twice a year, maybe if
Right.
that. We had to just kind of like buckle up and come up with our own choreography.
Yeah. So a good part of our influence is from our coaches, Victor and Hannah. But the nice thing about them is because they're such good coaches, they didn't make little carbon copies of themselves. There's, of course, hints towards them inside of our choreography. And there's a legacy that's in our choreography when our dancing reflects their dancing. But they were so good at honing us into the best version of ourselves that we could be.
I think they specifically did not want us to be them.
Right.
Like not in a bad way. They like specifically wanted us to find our own way and our own style.
Mm-hmm. And finding your own style, it's funny because like if you type in going back to drawing just for a little bit, if you type into YouTube, how to create your own style is one of the most searched phrases when it comes to drawing and artwork. How to come up with your own style, which the funny thing is everyone has their own style. You are a unique blend of flavors of things that you like. So for instance, like Chelsea likes stuff that has like pop and lift to it, and she likes really breathy, airy things, and I tend to like things that are a little bit smoother and more rotational. And anyways, you just take all of these different things that we are personally passionate about and we find visually appealing, and then we try to do those things and be those things and showcase those things. Well, then you end up developing your style.
Well, that's interesting that like your finding your style is like one of the most searched questions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So interesting because when we were going through when we were coming up as dancers, that's one of the critiques we would get all the time. They're like, you need to find your own style. Your own style. And I was like, what does that even mean? First of all, I had buzzed the sides of my head. Mm-hmm. I had a white mohawk, literally. And then bodysuits. Like that was bodysuits were more of like a European thing. So in America, all of the girls were wearing dresses and heels, every single one of them. And I was doing bodysuits and I had a mohawk. Mm-hmm. How much more style do you need? Like I stood out like a sore thumb, and I wasn't trying to be rebellious or anything. I enjoyed elegance and grace and clarity and everything like that, so I didn't take it too far.
Well, I will say, you saying you enjoy elegance and grace and all of that stuff, even though you had a hint of edginess to you.
Edge. I love edge.
Yeah, you had a hint of edginess to you, but you were elegant and graceful, and I guess that's the point I'm trying to make is like, you had edgy qualities to you, but you had so much proficiency in your skill sets and so much grace and style and beauty anyways, that your edginess only lent to those things. It didn't take away from them. Mm-hmm. So if you're trying to be edgy for edgy's sake, then to me,
you're going to be able to tell it's going to be weird.
Well, it's kind of like trying to put rhinestones on a trash bag. It's like you're just trying to do things to make something flashier. So
I just think it's interesting. I think that the reason I said that's interesting that's one of the searched things. It's because people are coming at them and saying, you need to find your own style. So like my thing was, I never really thought of that. until someone came in and said that we needed to find our own style. It was so I didn't understand that because I was like, I like what I like and I do what I like.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a pretty straightforward person. We aren't typically moldable when it comes to like manipulating and forcing into a specific genre or something like that. You and I are very creative.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought that that was interesting.
Yeah. Okay, well, this will kind of tie into something that you were just saying, but you were talking about people making offhanded comments like you need to find your own style. And here's like a last little bit of advice from myself, but also Chelsea, is it doesn't matter what you do. If you start doing something outside of the status quo, outside of the norm, you will have people who will just say things in your life. So whether it comes from friends, whether it comes from family, coworkers, it doesn't matter. If you decide to eat a different type of diet, people are going to take notice of it. If you decide to start working out, improving yourself, people are going to take notice of it. You're going to have some people who will notice and give you encouragement. Unfortunately, from what we've found out, is there's also people who take notice and just, like I said, say things to try and derail you. I don't know what this is. Again, a psychologist could tell you, why it is that
Self-preservation, I think. It's a way to make them feel still superior. I think that they need to feel that sense of superiority. And if you're doing something that makes them uncomfortable, or I did hear someone say something about how it's like if you start to improve yourself, the people that know you almost resent who you're turning into, not because of what you're doing for yourself, but it's almost like a self-preservation.
Yeah.
They have a way of, they know you a specific way, and you're trying to change that, so that threatens their reality.
Yes.
So you're changing your reality. There's fear there because they don't want you to be better than them or whatever else. It's like weirdness. But I thought that was interesting because it's like not only are you changing your reality, but you're actually they feel subconsciously that they feel like they're being threatened. Their reality's being threatened because you're changing who they know you as.
Yeah.
I thought that was so interesting because I was like, that kind of releases you personally because I can't help if you're holding on to the person that you thought I was. And if that's a person that I'm trying to heal from, yeah, I'm going to change.
Right.
And some people will not be there for you when it comes to that. I just thought that was really interesting.
Well, this probably seems like it's a little bit more specific to Chelsea and I's industry, but just in general, there will be people, I won't name the subset of people. But
I like that eyebrow raise.
There will be people who will say, again, they'll just say things to you when they don't actually have any advice, but it's also to derail you, whether they know they're doing it consciously or subconsciously. So
I think for the most part, they know what they're doing.
So they'll say things like, you need to find your style, you're too edgy, I need you to be more feminine, you should probably lose weight, you should wear this, you know what, you could do this with your hair color. And it's, again, they think they're giving advice, but really what they're trying to do is they're trying to throw a stick into the spokes of your tires and just trying to get you to slow down or derail or do whatever it is. So, because again, like you said, it's a self-preservation thing. So,
well, and I think that it's like when it comes to like now getting advice on like your costumes and stuff and your music and everything like that, I think that that's fine if you've asked for it. I think that the problem is when somebody comes in and they start commenting on your weight or your flexibility or your hairstyle.
This is
you
marketing.
Don't have anything else to like contribute. Like you're a dancer. Like you should understand something constructive.
This is marketing 101. You create an insecurity and then you come up with the answer for said insecurity. So again, they're being clever when it comes to selling
themselves for future.
Yeah. But I wish there was more people who were just really darn good at what they do. And because they're so good at it, their students run around singing their praises so other people want to work with them. I think that is a healthier, more productive way to get work rather than trying to create insecurities.
It's harder work, though. You're actually having to show up and give something of value. I think that these people, especially in the ballroom dance industry, like they see everybody else doing this thing. They see everybody else manipulating and securing their position by means of selling a placement,
Mm-hmm.
and it works. And then so they continue to do it because they see other people doing it. They don't want to. I always like be the change you want to see. Yeah, right. And then for dancers coming up, when they see that that their ticket is to buy off whoever it is in order to get to where they want to be, it's an easier route. It's just easier. And if you're sold this idea that it's the only way, this is how it's done. If you don't like it, this is the business. If you don't like it, get out.
Mm-hmm.
When I don't think that if you had respect for the industry, I think that you would want to move away from that. But
Well, so just to end on a slightly different note, is like, what's the saying from Gladiator? Brothers, what we do in life echoes into eternity. So it's like, if you're thinking of the here and now, if you're thinking about what's finite, what exists just in this life alone, then yeah, the smart thing to do, even the maybe moral thing to do, I don't think it's moral, but would be to, buy that placement, get that championship title or whatever, and then, just continue to BS your way through the industry. The harder thing, like you said, to do is to offer something of value, something of substance to people.
well, it's not rewarded.
Yeah,
I think
to
that
look back on a career that you actually can be proud of, and that that you treated people with respect, and you echoed an eternity by turning around and giving them the gifts and the abilities that you yourself had, because your body's going to diminish in the here and now.
Right.
So I just think from a moral standpoint, from an eternal standpoint, it's better and more lasting to focus on things that are going to be more fulfilling in eternity, not in, I don't know, I guess the here and now.
Yeah. So do you have any, that's your last bit of advice, do you have any last words, either for your future self or the person watching?
Any last words? You know what? If you're interested in something and it seems like it's silly, go for it. And that's going to make a lot more sense in about 30 to 60 days.
That's what I was thinking, because we're always like starting these new adventures and new quests, little side quests. And it seems silly at first. I think that we need to do a video of us walking down memory lane, because from where we were to where we are is pretty insane. It's a pretty insane story.
Just to go back and connect the dots and show where God has blessed us and give him the glory, because again, that's why anything even matters. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because we've worked hard.
But
you can
go
through you can go through our life and you can see, like, wow, like we were working against each other. We were working against ourselves just with the very beginning of our story together, how it all started, because we just recently went through and we're talking about it, and it's just you cannot make that happen.
Yeah.
But with God, all things are possible.
Yeah. So I would say that's it. Yeah, if you're interested in something and you think it's going to be silly and someone's going to have something weird to say about it, they probably will. So you may as well just go ahead and explore said thing that you're interested in.
Just do it anyway.
Yeah.
People are going to have opinions all the time. Just means more comments. Bring on those negative comments.
Bring on the comments.
Bring them on.
I like that.
I love it.